What's up YouTube? This got your guide on how to use Rotom Wash in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'll be providing competitive movesets and some fun me movesets too. If there's a Pokemon you'd like to see me cover, put it below in the comment section. If you enjoy these, they help you out, drop a like on the video and let's get into it. So Rotom Wash is probably the most used, well definitely the most used Rotom out of all the forms. Mainly due to its typing. Electric and Water is extremely good typing. And being virtually a great defensive and offensive pivot on a lot of teams, it just works very, very well. Looking at its stats, they're not really anything amazing at all. In fact, its highest stats are its defense and special defense. Then you've got its special attack being, okay, and the rest of its stats just being average. However, with Electric and Water and Levitate as the ability, it actually is quite good because it's only got the grass weakness there, so it doesn't really have to worry about too many super effective attacks. So this Pokemon, as I mentioned, works well as a pivot. So first set we're going to look at here is going to be a Choice Specs or Choice Scarf set. Both of them work fairly well. So on any pivot set, you want to have Volt Switch on there. It just works nicely. So Volt Switch, that's going to be Electric Stab as well. It gets Hydro Pump, which is its only special water type move that it gets. So a really nice, powerful water move. I like putting Thunderbolt on there as well. Once you've locked yourself into Choice Specs and you've sort of done pivoting or you want a little bit more damage and stuff, you can go for Thunderbolt there. The last move on there I've got is Trick. So Trick is a really good move for crippling any stall Pokemon that like to come into your attacks, or just locking down a Pokemon into one attack, and then obviously you'll be free to use your other moves as you like there, so you don't have to keep using Thunderbolt or Hydro Pump. So I think that works very, very well on Rotom Wash. Now, Terra type, I kind of like having Terra type Electric on there because that means it's only got one weakness, and that's ground, but with Levitate it's 0 weaknesses, so it's got no super effective moves against it, which is very, very good in my opinion. So I like to have Terra Electric on there as my Terra. EV spread, max special attack and max speed. Put Timid Nature on there because its speed isn't really all that good, and the rest in special attack. Now, you can do the same with a Choice Scarf set. This makes it a lot faster. I personally might still keep Timid on there because it can still get outsped by stuff. But if you want a little bit more special attack, you can do that. But bear in mind, it still might get outsped by some of the real faster Pokemon in the game there. So, some other options you could run for Terra if you don't want to run Electric. Not a bad defensive one is Steel. If you're worried about being like poisoned, like toxic or anything like that, and Steel obviously works well with Levitate because ground type moves are not going to be very effective against it, which can be quite good. It does open it up to some other weaknesses like fighting and fire, but at least against fire you've got Hydro Pump there, so you really only have to worry about fighting type. So that's another one you could have. You could have Terra Water on there if you wanted to, say if you're running it in rain, maybe that would be more useful for Hydro Pump, but I still think Terra Electric is the best on there for like a Choice Specs, Choice Scarf set in my opinion. Unless you wanted to do a Terra type on here, which you could do with Terra Blast, this is another option. Rotom Wash and all the Rotoms really, which I'll be covering on my channel and over the next couple of weeks, a week or so, they're very, very barren, right? So they don't have a wide variety of moves. Generally, they've got the electric move and their stab, right? Which is, in this case, is water. So the third move is generally just a lot of time, there's no point running it. But if you want to have another coverage move, grass is pretty good. As a defensive type, it can be quite good. Or you could even have fire on there if you wanted to get rid of grass type Pokemon. But once again, that'll open you up to quite a few weaknesses, but it's not bad because you still have a ground. You've got Levitate and ground there, but it will open you up to like rock and water and stuff like that. But you don't have to worry about those too much because you can hit rock for super effective with Hydro Pump and Water with Thunderbolt. So that's why I like Terra-type Fire on there as a more offensive option. You can also hit Steel-type Pokemon as well. All right, so that's my recommendation for a Specs and Scarf set. Next set here is more of a tanky set. This first set definitely could work in singles and somewhat in doubles as well. This next set is probably a little bit better designed for singles, but could work in doubles too. I've got some more dedicated double sets in a sec. So let's have a look at this. So Rotom Wash's ability is really good. So Ability Shield actually isn't a bad item on there, so it can't be suppressed. Example, something like Mold Breaker, like a Mold Breaker Earthquake. That will be very bad for Rotom Wash because, it'll be hit by, say, something like Earthquake, like let's say an Excadrill, for example. That would be very, very bad. So that sort of stops those shenanigans happening there. So this gets all kind of great support moves like Will-O-Wisp and Thunder Wave. So this set is quite special defensive. So if you want to run a bulky Rotom, most Rotom forms in general, it's probably best to run max health because its health stat is really, really bad. It's only base 50. So max health, I've got 200 in special defense and 56 in defense here with Calm Nature. The reason I've done this is so it's got some good special defense and enough defense to be able to live some physical attacks until it gets like a Will-O-Wisp off, and then it can kind of cripple the physical attackers and such like that. The other move I've got on there is Hydro Pump and Volt Switch, which is going to be on virtually every single Rotom Wash set you ever see. And I've got Pain Split on there for recovery. So I quite like Pain Split on there because this is one of the few Pokemon you can run Pain Split on and still give it max health, and it's still terrible. So its health is still terrible. So you'll get plenty of health recovery. You could opt to do something like no EVs in health, but I found it's just not bulky enough then. Its defense and special defense aren't. It's not like a Shuckle or something like that, which has like 500 in defense and special defense. So it does need that max health in there, and it still functions fine with Pain Split. So I would recommend that for sure. A great way of recovering too. Now, alternatively, if you wanted to run more of a, let's say, a defensive set, you could. I'd opt out of Will-O-Wisp and give it Thunder Wave. And with this, I would run a lot more EVs. I would do something like this, right? I go 180 in defense and 76 in special defense. That way it's a little bit more well-rounded on both sides because we don't have Will-O-Wisp anymore. So if we come across physical attackers, we're not able to take those attacks a lot better, right, than before. Obviously, you're going to lose a little bit on your special defensive side, but mainly this set's about spreading status. This more like well-rounded set is about spreading status, doing some damage, maybe healing yourself with Pain Split and dipping out of Volt Switch into a better matchup Pokemon, right? Terra-type Steel I like on this because it's good for defensive, and when you start showing you've got Pain Split and stuff like that, people will try and use Toxic on you. And stuff like that. So that's going to be very, very useful to stop that, right? Also, you're immune to Toxic Spikes and things like that too, or the move Toxic and things like that. So that can definitely be useful there. I'd probably keep that. That'd be the Terra type I'd have. I don't think there's any other good ones there. I'd probably go with Steel. Yeah, so that's another way you could run Rotom Wash. All right, looking at some more double sets now. I like to run Wide Lens on Rotom Wash because simply it's got a lot of lower accuracy moves, but those moves are quite good on it. So let's check it out. So Hydro Pump, as I said, is going to be on every set. High base power. It's got 80% accuracy, so it's not that... It's a bit shaky, but with Wide Lens, you've got 1.1 times on there. So you're going for you've got 88% accuracy then, basically, might as well say. And you've got Will-O-Wisp on the set, and Will-O-Wisp is 85% accuracy. So, then you can do your calculation for Will-O-Wisp then, and it's going to be a lot more accurate, right? Which is going to be handy, putting you into the 90s and stuff. Volt Switch is there. That's going to be purely for momentum on your team, and you can couple that with other Pokemon, say Intimidate Pokemon. Like Incineroar would be great with that too. I'll go into some more team building and stuff like that as the video goes on. And I like to run Foul Play on there too. So Foul Play is quite a useful utility move that Rotom Wash gets. So anyone has a big attack stat, or they've got a Sword Dance up, etc., or it's a big attack stat, and you feel like, well, it might be risky going for Will-O-Wisp here. I just want to get some fat damage against them, or they've already got a lot of boost up already. That's where that move can come in there for sure. Another one you could possibly do on there, if you don't want to Foul Play, Electro Web's pretty good too in doubles. Also, it's 95% accuracy, so with wide lens it's going to be 100. So this 100% drops the opponent's both the opponent's Pokemon speed by 1 stage. So you can use this. You can keep the opponent's speed in check, swap out, burn them, and hit them with Hydro Pump as well. So it's a great pivot. It's really good pivot for that sort of stuff. So EV spread here. I've got this one 180 in health, 76 in special attack. Now I gave it a little bit in special attack, so it could actually do some damage with Hydro Pump. Not so much Volt Switch, but Hydro Pump. If I was come across a Pokemon that is weak to Hydro Pump, I want to do some form of damage, so I won't just get set up on, or if I need to do some damage, it's quite good. 252 in special defense, very bulky. And with Will-O-Wisp, I didn't feel the need to put any defensive EVs into there, whatsoever. If you want to make it really tanky, you could just completely drop the special attack EVs and put the 76 into defense if you wanted to. There's nothing wrong with that. Just bear in mind, you're not going to be doing hardly any damage at all. Even with Hydro Pump, you're not going to be doing a lot of damage. So that's why I put 76 into there, so I could get, some important KOs against Pokemon that are going to be weak to water type moves, like Incineroar and stuff like that. So Terra type. You could do a couple of Terra types here. Terra Electric is always very good. I actually don't mind Terra Ghost on there because you can get around a lot of normal type moves like Fake Out, Extreme Speed, stuff like that. It's quite good for Fake Out if you're not carrying an item like, say, a Covert Cloak or such like that. So you can actually dodge a Fake Out and then burn a Pokemon with Will-O-Wisp. It can work very well. Ghost doesn't have a lot of weaknesses either, so it's not a bad one to Terra into for sure there. And you get around a lot of the extreme speed spamming Pokemon too, which can be quite good. As for some other options, you could have Steel on there if you wanted to. You could have Water. You could have Fairy as a defensive one. Fairy's not bad because it resists a lot of the main stab moves that some of the top meta Pokemon sort of use. So that could be really good too. So yeah, just some Dragon type moves are not going to do anything to you and stuff like that too. So just some sort of stuff to think about there. All right, our next set here is kind of similar, but a little bit different with the EVs. It's a little bit more well-rounded in EVs. So first move we got is Electro Whip. I did go over this already. It's good for dropping opponent's speed. Speed control with Volt Switch is quite good. Terra type Electric, I'm keeping it at that because it's only have like a few weaknesses or one weakness then virtually. Hydro Pump, and I've got Pain Split on here this time. So Pain Split I thought would be quite good. So you could get some health back, do some damage, drop some speed. And since I'm not running something like Terra type Ghost, I've got Covert Cloak on there. So I can still at least do something and not be hit by annoying secondary effects there that stop you attacking, right? So EV spread, this time I've got max health. 112 in defense, 144 in special defense with Calm Nature. This gives it pretty well-rounded EVs on the defense and special defensive side. You could put Will-O-Wisp on there as well. I sort of allowed that EV spread to have Will-O-Wisp. You probably don't need as much defense for that, but yeah, you could easily slot that onto there or like a combination of these sets. Mainly, it's just a good bulky support utility there. Just very good at that role. It doesn't really do tons and tons of damage. It doesn't need to. So you're sort of leaving it up to your other ally Pokemon to do that, right? Okay, I'm going to do some couple more sets here, and then I'm going to explain some teammates and some counters and just some general thoughts. All right. Okay, our next set here is going to be a Rotom Wash Nasty Plot set. So it does get the move Nasty Plot, which is pretty good on it, but it's not really... The problem about Rotom Wash is its speed, right? So it's not like it's got a real high speed stat, but maybe with a bit of support, like some Tailwind support or in singles, some Sticky Web support, this could be quite, quite reasonable. Main thing, the problem about the Rotom Wash is it doesn't have tons of coverage outside of its stab, right? So it's got a water, it's always going to have a water and electric move, but that's going to be out here. So we've got Nasty Plot, boosting its special attack by 2 stages, Hydro Pump and Thunder, so both quite low accuracy moves. You could drop it back to Thunderbolt if you like, if that's too risky for you. I've got Wide Lens on there for that reason, but even with Wide Lens, you've only got 77 accuracy, so, it's not that great. So you could drop it back to Thunderbolt for 100% accuracy, so sort of up to you there. Terra Blast Fire. I sort of went over Terra Blast Fire before. I thought that's quite good for hitting grass types that think they can come in there and do some damage. Something like Superior would be a good counter. Leaf Storm Superior. So you could take that by surprise by going Nasty Plot and then hitting it with a Terra Blast Fire when they try and go for an easy contrary Leaf Storm. So that's a good, a good one for that. Special attack and speed, EVs, Timid Nature. You want as much speed as possible. And I just dropped the last bit into defense there for a bit of extra bulk, but that could go pretty much anywhere. So yeah, another way to run Rotom Wash. Probably not, it's not really known for that, but if you're if you got some support for it, like a Tailwind or Sticky Web, that would be good then. It'd be able to outspeed some things, but I'd say its definite role is it's better as a bulky pivot. That's its best role, virtually, but it can run a sweeping set too. All right, we're up to the Pip Night special here. This is an absolute banger of a set. It's absolutely terrible, but here we go. So I always like to do some meme sets as well as the competitive. So we've got Astonish. So this gets like 2 physical attacks or 3 physical attacks, and they're all terrible. It's like, I'll show you in a second. But we've got Astonish for flinching, 30% chance. We've got Thunder Wave for paralyzing. So idea, paralyze the opponent, confuse them, and then spam Astonish for a flinch chance. So you got the flinch chance, the paralyzed chance, and the confusion chance. And then obviously in all that, you're going to take some form of damage. So you've got Pain Split to heal back the health and do it all again to the opponent. Since you've got such little weaknesses, it's good because you're not going to get hit by a lot of things. Leftovers as the item just for more recovery. You could give it Bright Powder as well if you want to try and dodge a few hits, or maybe Rocky Helmet. EV spread, we got 72 in defense, 176 in special defense, making it all like well-rounded on its defense and special defense, and 252 in speed. So with any flinching set, it's always very, very important to go first there. Impish Nature. So there we go, an absolutely horrible meme set, but have fun with it. Let's have a look at some teammates and stuff now. Okay, so for teammates. Actually, we'll do teammates first. That's probably pretty easy. I was talking about Incineroar earlier on, especially for doubles, so that works well with pivoting Rotom Wash. You can swap this. Incineroar's in there. The opponent's going to use a water type move. You can swap it in, or a ground type move, so you can swap it into that. This also has Parting Shot as well, so you can use Parting Shot and Volt Switch together, which is really, really good, and the synergy is great too. So, and this deals with the annoying grass type Pokemon. Generally will have Flare Blitz or something like that on there, so it can deal with those counters there. This can deal. Rotom can then deal with water, the water swap in, and then any ground water moves, etc., rock and stuff like that too. Some other Pokemon you can run with Rotom Wash. I would recommend Rillaboom, Rotom Wash, and Incineroar is a good little core there that works well together. So I just for synergy purposes, absolutely. Another good one Can be Volcarona as well. That's not a bad one. They can work very, very well together, just for synergy-wise. Plus, you can use Volt Switch to pivot into Volcarona so it can set up Quiver Dance. I've done Volcarona Guide and the other Pokemon I mentioned already in Guides too. Just quickly touch on them. Another good one is Majana. So the current regulation, you can actually use this. So they work pretty well together because this is weak to ground and to fire. So Rotom Wash makes a perfect pivot for it. It really does. So depending on what set you're running, it's a great pivot. So they work very well together. Some other ones I'm thinking here now for, let's do some counters now. That's a pretty good amount of teammates there. As I mentioned this before, any grass type. So I would say Amoonguss is quite good. You can't really do much to Amoonguss outside of tricking it. If you're struggling with Amoonguss, I'd try and maybe like the tricking an item would shut Amoonguss down. That's about it. It kind of struggles against that because Amoonguss takes the electric moves and water moves really well because they're not very effective. So that's a good counter. I've done Amoonguss already if you want to check that out too. Ground type Pokemon. I'll give a hyper specific example here, but something like Excadrill with Mold Breaker, actually can hit Rotom Wash. And, if Rotom Wash tries to swap into it, it's going to get hit because Mold Breaker obviously ignores that Levitate too. So that can be bad. Any real super powerful special attacking Pokemon, let's say something like a Hydrapple or even something that's not grass type. How about Hydreigon? Say something like a Choice Specs, Dark Pulse, or Draco Meteor. Now, this could be from any other Pokemon. Rotom Wash can't repeatedly swap into those sort of moves. Like, that is... It can pivot and stuff, but eventually it's going to wear itself thin unless it gets a pain split off. That's about it. So any real hard-hitting special... I say special attacking because it has Will-O-Wisp. On a lot of these sets, we will have Will-O-Wisp, so... It doesn't really mind physical attackers as much, but special attackers can be a problem for it, for sure. That's why you'll tend to see people building special defense over defense, right? Or just putting a bit of defense. That's pretty much it. It's not actually weak to a lot of things. Grass types, I mentioned already. I don't know, what's a grass type legendary? Something like Zarude. I was trying to think like Zarude. That's a little bit hyper specific, I know, but grass type Pokemon are going to be an issue for it too. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Rotom. I'll just quickly go over its moves and stuff. It is limited. I think I've done a pretty good job of explaining how it works and stuff. For doubles too, a great combination too. You can use Garchomp, and you can use say let's say a more offensive set. I'm just going to make this one quickly into an offensive set. You can use, for example, a Discharge Rotom Wash alongside a Garchomp. So Garchomp can use Earthquake, right? And then that won't affect the Rotom. And then Rotom can use Discharge, and that won't affect the Garchomp, and it can hit both. So you got like a double damaging little combination there from both. So that's not a bad little matchup there. I just thought I'd mention that with Rotom. Okay, so let's have a look at his status move. So it does get screens. You might be able to do a Reflect and Light screen set with Light Clay or something, and then like Volt Switch and Hydro Pump. That could somewhat work. I feel like you miss out on its best moves though. Thunder Wave and especially Will-O-Wisp are really, really good moves to run on a pivoting set because you can just shut down annoying like sweepers, physical, or slow them down with Thunder Wave or Electro Web. So it's got those options there. We've gone over most of that stuff. It does get Helping Hand too. It's hard to fit Helping Hand onto Rotom because there's so many good moves it can have. Like, once you've got Hydro Pump, Volt Switch, and Will-O-Wisp, then you sort of have to decide what this last move is going to be. Is it going to be Thunder Wave as well? Is it going to be Electro Wave? Is it going to be Helping Hand? Is it going to be Foul Play? You know what I mean? So I would just include what you need on your team, what your team lacks or might need. That would be my advice. Special sets, special moves. Discharge, I just went over that. A Hydro Pump that's going to be on every single set virtually. It does get Hyper Voice. You could do some crazy throat spray set, I guess. Terra Normal to get around. I don't know, like an anti-Calyrex Shadow Rider set. I don't know. So I'm trying to think of something what you'd use that for. Does get Shadow Ball for a lot of those Psychic and Ghost types, so that could be somewhat. Shadow Ball's like not a bad filler move on like a let's say like a Scarf or Spec set. If you're not going to run Trick, that's a great last filler move to run on there because it hits quite a few Pokemon for super effective. It does get stored power, but it's going to be difficult to get that enough boost going to make it worthwhile. You'd have to have a couple of nasty plots going. Yeah, we've gone over Volt Switch and Thunderbolt. Thunder, there's no real use running Thunder unless it might be on a rain team, definitely. You could run Thunder. You could either go Terra Blast Water as well, or sorry, Hydro Pump for Terra type Water. That could be definitely useful on a rain team, for sure. So you could have something like Thunder, Hydro Pump, Water, Volt Switch. Volt Switch is always very good on there. And it's a little bit limited after that. If you really rely on rain on your team, you could even pop Damp Rock onto there too. Why not? It could just be a straight sweeping set. Or it could be a bulky pivot, so it's sort of what you want it. So something like that. Yeah. And its physical moves, we'll have a quick look at that. Because it's only going to take a quick look. So that's it. It's terrible. So it didn't really get blessed with. It got no stab at all. It didn't even get Spark. Didn't get Waterfall. Didn't get Liquid. How does it not get Liquidation? Really, it's a washing machine. That actually made no sense to me. Petition to get this Liquidation. Anyway, that's about it for Rotom Watch. Rotom Watch is an excellent Pokemon. It really, really shines as a bulky pivot. And it could be quite a powerful choice. Scarf and Specs use it too, and good on rain teams. Lots of great uses for this Pokemon. That's about it, everyone. I'll put up, I think I've got another Rotom form later on. All right, peace out.